December, yeah.
Are you done counting, Chris?
Yeah.
Chris and Dan show what's up. Chris was just showing me how to count to
Just
7.
learning.
Just
Just learning.
learning how to count to 7. Um, so you know what? We're gonna just jump into it. We're mixing it up. We're not just music people, guys. You think we're like, oh, ye of little faith, that we know nothing else but BTS and Iron Maiden and Nate Dogg and Tupac? Come on, guys. We
That's
love
all I
that as
know.
much.
Tupac and Nate Dogg. That's all I know.
We love that as much. And yeah, all I know is Greta Van Thunberg. But look, we love music as much as the next guys and gals. But we're also interested in other stuff. And we're just going to start reacting to things we're interested in. Doesn't matter what it is. And if you don't like it, I don't know what you can do. Leave a nasty comment. But don't
Or or
unsubscribe.
or comment, yes. Or comment on what you'd like us to discuss.
That, that's your genius. You're done for the genius moments of the day. That was
Uh-huh.
just enough. That was
Enough.
plenty.
Enough.
Plenty.
Got it.
Exactly what Chris just said is the strategy. All right, so I watched Patrick Bet David. For those that don't know, he's Valuetainment. Chris and I both like him a lot. He did a 2.5 hour video with Cenk Uygur from Young Turks, who Chris hates. All right.
Well, I do not like him. I think he's very narrow-minded.
Exactly. So this is why this is gonna be juicy and good, because I thought the same thing, Chris, and I actually clicked because I thought it was an April Fool's joke,
Hmm.
and it wasn't. And it was actually a really good conversation. Both guys said, "You know what? We learned a lot." I recommend you watch if you like this clip, or maybe even if you don't, you should give the 2.5 hour podcast a try. It's on YouTube, it's on Spotify, whatever you want. It's on audio if you want to listen. It's worth it because what I got from this interview, I used to think the same. Like, this guy's a socialist, he's a leftist. He's actually not. Him and people like Ben Shapiro, and actually he gives Ben Shapiro a lot of props in this
Hmm.
in the whole podcast. He's
Mm-hmm.
like, we may disagree on our views, but he's a business person and so am I, and we both work hard. He's actually anti-establishment, Cenk.
Sure,
He,
he was a Bernie supporter.
yeah, he's anti-establishment, so they're kind of after against the same people, whether Democrat or Republican. Like I always say, politics is like wrestling, and it's like you have different sides, but really Vince McMahon runs the whole shit. I mean, that's you got these outsiders, and sometimes the outsiders get bought and paid off. And I know there's been conspiracies, and Cenk says he's been canceled. He actually says he's been canceled by MSNBC. You know, they offered him money to come on. They offered him $1 million year contract when he didn't have any money, when he was just starting Young Turks. He turned it down because they told him he's gonna have to sell out basically to the media's corporate interest,
Mm-hmm.
which is like big pharma, big oil, all that stuff. He hates that. So he's in many ways, even though he might be polarizing, he is not that. If you actually listen to him, he's not saying like things that are that different from what you would be saying, right? Like, you have to
So,
watch the whole thing. You have to watch the whole thing. But
so when I do watch Tank, two things come to mind, right? One, he's full of it, right? I don't think
probably,
he doesn't believe what he's saying. I think half the time, or if he does, then he's not independent. He's part of the machine because he often is reciting talking points of mainstream media that are not true. Every time I watch him, it's one or the other comes to mind
yeah.
for me.
Well, we're not gonna obviously react to the whole 3 hour video. All right, that
Right.
would be insanity. I mean, we'd have to be here till midnight tonight, and it's only 11 a.m. So
Yeah.
we're not gonna do that. But I did find a 6 minute clip we could watch, and you go like this, just like music. Time out.
Sure. Well, there's no music, so I can just say, "Hey, you should be able
Sure.
to hear me."
I don't know. I'm not that technical, as people can tell. But we got a good one. Ted Cruz is a bitch. The reason I picked this one is because Chris likes Ted Cruz. Likes Ted Cruz.
Less so now, but yeah.
Okay, less so now. You can get into that too during the video, but I just thought I found a good one for you. You know, they have a bunch of little clips, so if you don't watch the whole 3-hour thing, like the longer you go without watching it, I'll just play more of these clips if this gets a lot of views. And then eventually you would have watched the whole thing by us reacting.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. Buckle up, Chris. I know you're going to get nauseated here, but just try to bear with us.
All right.
Current system that we have. We typically ask this one question. I'm curious to know what your answer is going to be. Guy asked me this question yesterday. I'm like, no one's ever asked me the question that
you already have a. Jeez,
yeah,
this is going to be worse than music.
So it's not the there's no video of them talking. It's just audio.
No, I think it is. I think they're just looking at a screen right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, they have it.
Oh, I see.
Others. I asked Joe Rogan this question. Out of the 5 organizations and individuals I'll give you, tell me who's got the most power. President of the United States, virtual governments, which is, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all those guys. We call them virtual government. And then you got the educational system, you got mainstream media, or you got the billionaires. In order of top 5, who would you put as the most powerful?
Yeah, I love Bet David.
Yeah, like, I watch David. For those who don't know,
things. Yeah, and he's very centrist, I think. But he's more conservative.
He leans right.
Yeah, he leans right. I probably lean left, middle of center, center left, little.
Yeah.
But yeah, he leans center right.
Powerful and the least powerful. One more time. President, virtual government, educational system, mainstream media, billionaires.
So I think it's relatively easy. Billionaires have the most power by an order of magnitude, way, way, way more. The president has the least power by an order of magnitude because politicians are basically servants. They're waiters and waitresses that the mainstream media does marketing for. They take an order. Hey, donor would like this, and they execute the order. Okay, I would pass a bill in favor of the donors. So for example, why did Ted Cruz turn around on a dime? Oh, I'm going to get Trump. I can't believe he said that about my wife, and I'm going to get him. And then he said that about my dad, and he's a dishonorable man. And then he's like, I'm going to phone bank for Donald Trump. I love Donald Trump. Please reelect Donald Trump. Okay, he's true story, by the way.
100% true. He's a bitch. Okay, but B, let me explain to you why he's a bitch. Because when he gave the speech at the convention and did not endorse Trump, he then went up to his daddy, which is Robert Mercer. That's his donor that gave him $13 million. Look, again, we're businessmen, Patrick. Somebody gives you $13 million, they expect something in return, okay? Especially in politics. In business, they expect a return. In politics, what do they expect? They still expect a return, but through corruption, okay? So when he goes up to the suite...
Return on investment.
Exactly. When he goes up to the suite of the Mercers, Robert and Rebecca, they slammed a door in his face. They got a new boy. It's Donald Trump. And Ted Cruz miscalculated. Because he lost his donor, that's why he was like, oh, I'm sorry. Insult my wife all you like. I never really cared about it.
She's not that pretty anyway.
Yeah,
it's fine.
You're right. She's ugly. Donald Trump, what do you need me to do? Okay? Because that's who they are. So the president barely has any power.
So far you don't disagree with him?
No, I do disagree with this part. Okay. So I agree with what he said initially, in which definitely politics is downstream of culture, right? Who controls cultures? It is probably the rich and powerful, right? They're the puppet masters to a degree. They control it's 5 people control 95% of all media output.
Something crazy like that.
So yeah, these 5 people, they control you to a degree. They control culture. They control the flow of culture. So I don't disagree with that. What I disagree with is his analysis of Trump per se. So, and me, I'm getting tired of hearing Trump. So I don't mean to rehash Trump, but what did Trump do initially? He said, what was his big... He had 2 big pushes that probably brought him the presidency, right? Control the borders and drain the swamp. Those were his 2 big issues, right? Well, I mean, there was others. Bring home manufacturing.
Yeah, I think that was one of the biggest ones, actually.
Yeah, but the things
he's a populist. He ran on the populist platform.
Right, like Bernie Sanders, right?
Yep.
So, what Cenk's missing here. So if these rich and powerful control media, what did the media talk about for years of Trump's president? How he's corrupt, how he's Putin's puppet, how
Yeah.
he's all involved with Russia. And and I'm kind of going to be discussing a lot of different things here, but you remember when Clinton, when she was under investigation by the FBI director, can't think of his name at the moment, he came out and gave a laundry list of 15 minutes of the things she's guilty of, right? He said she's guilty of these things, but we're not pressing charges, right?
Yeah.
When Trump, and I can't remember the FBI, not FBI, special investigator who was responsible for investigating him in Russia, he came out and said there was nothing. There's nothing Trump did. But did that get any media? No, because the media, they were afraid of Trump. They didn't want him draining the swamp. He wasn't controlled. At least that's my thoughts. And
Well,
Cenk's saying he was controlled. I don't agree with that. Otherwise, because the media always plays along with who's ever president when they have control over him.
Well, he was saying he's not controlled by media; he's controlled by donors.
But those donors, if they're the rich and powerful, don't they control culture and media and everything else?
Or they can just have like 13 million bucks, and he needs it.
That's Cruz. But what I'm saying is this person that he's referencing in regards to Cruz, he's saying that person also controlled Trump. Okay, maybe, but I doubt it.
So if you watch the whole like 3 hour thing, he's actually doesn't disagree with what you're saying either. He says the media is all over Trump and all over Bernie, and he hates them equally for that. He doesn't like Trump because Trump, and maybe we'll find that clip, but he doesn't like Trump because he thinks Trump will do anything for money and donations and keep his donors happy. So I mean, let's finish. Or
Well,
you can call time out.
just one more comment on that.
Okay.
I don't disagree with that either, and I think that's how it should be. I just don't think that corporations should be able to be big donors. I think you as a politician should do what your donors want, right? I think you should do what your constituency puts you there to do. That's your
Yeah.
job as a politician. So I don't disagree that you shouldn't do what your donors want you to do. It's just you shouldn't be responsible solely to the large donors. There should be a max on all donations. My opinion. Like everybody can give $100. That's it.
Man, I would pay to have Cenk on to like I'll moderate between you and him. That would be amazing. You guys are not that far off.
When the donors tell Biden, you're not going to pass the $15 minimum wage, shut up and do as you're told. Biden says, yes, sir. Absolutely, sir. I can prove it. I forced the vote. The Young Turks did a petition that forced Bernie to introduce $15 minimum wage in the coronavirus relief bill. They had it in there originally. They took it out, and they were never going to vote on it. Why? Because it was going to be embarrassing to the Democrats. Then Bernie does do the vote. He did the right thing. Wonderful. Okay. Guess what? It wasn't just Republicans. 8 Democrats voted against it, including the 2 Delaware senators. The 2 Delaware senators are not voting without checking with Biden. They're his top allies. That is Biden saying, I didn't mean it. I was lying the whole time. I'm against $15 minimum wage. The whole time pretending that he's in favor of it. If you watch mainstream media, they tell you Joe Biden's in favor of the $15 minimum wage. No, it was a lie. So mainstream media, second most powerful on that list, but they're also servants. The wealthy are at the top. Corporations are at the top. Everyone else serves them. Okay, the educational system. That is a variety. So because it has a history, right? And sometimes it's wonderful. Like in the 1950s and 60s, the education in New York was the best in the world, and it produced amazing businessmen, entertainers, you name it, right? So when I was growing up, we had great public schools. I went to a public school in New Jersey, right? Now it's an absolute disaster in places like California. Why? Because they lowered the tax base and they privatized the schools and they funneled the money to private schools and they starved the public schools. So the educational system is important because that's
what we. Shaking your head, Chris. You're getting upset.
No, I'm not upset.
Visibly upset.
No, I'm not upset, but that's not true what he said. Los Angeles County spends, I believe, the most in the country per student. Right?
Well, he's saying, I don't know enough about this. He's saying the money's funneled to private schools somehow.
But it's not. Public
I'm sure
funding
he's
does
got
not go to
receipts, though. You don't think Cenk's got receipts?
No, I don't.
Oh,
I don't. Because public funding does not go to private schools.
Right, but he says through some corruption they get funneled.
Well, okay, let's just say that's true, right? Los Angeles County is still the highest funded school district in the country, at least last I heard. And please put in the comments if that's incorrect. But
It's probably the most populated county in the country too.
yeah, but it's based on populace, right? Per student.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like $10,000 a student in LA County. So, where other like Mississippi, it's probably like $4,000 a student would be my guess. I mean, it's just ridiculous. His argument's just not correct. It's
So
not
you disagree with Cenk there, but let's continue. There's only 2 minutes left.
Teach culture.
We want him on the show.
Now, the right wing would agree with me that we teach culture there. But we disagree on what we should teach.
So you put education 3?
I think education 3, president's 5. So what's left? What was the
Digital media.
Virtual government.
Oh no, my bad. Virtual government is now.
Now you're thinking about it.
No. They're number 3, but
put 'em
almost
3.
yeah, but they're almost at number 2.
So you got billionaires at the top.
Yeah.
Then you got legacy media number 2. Then virtual government's digital media number 3.
That's right.
Educational system number 4.
What is that?
And at the bottom of the totem pole, the
They
president.
want to rank. PBD
What is
always
virtual?
asks us.
What's virtual government?
Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn.
That's media. That's not virtual government.
Well, it's not media because it's social media, and they all have their own. Try to talk about coronavirus and ivermectin for 10 minutes on YouTube and see what happens.
That's going to change. I'm sure you already know this. But
Yeah, but I'm answering your question. What I know.
Okay, so
Elon
you're
bought
saying
9% of Twitter.
Yeah, so you're saying virtual government is Twitter and YouTube.
I'm not saying it. That's how they're defining it as social media.
Yeah, I don't. So,
Why? Because each platform has its own rules, and basically they have
Oh, I
control
see.
over what gets shown. I just got one of my videos got taken off YouTube.
Sure.
I mean,
Okay.
don't tell me I'm not in a virtual government.
I don't like the
YouTube.
word government, but I get what you're saying. Now.
But they govern.
Sure, I get it.
It's their house, That's what
Yep.
they're saying.
Yep.
The United States.
Definitely. So here's how I have it. Okay. I have president at the bottom, just like you do. I don't think president is, you got 8 years. What are you going to be doing? And quite frankly, 8 years, you got to have Congress on your side, Senate. There's a lot of moving parts for you to be able to do a lot of things done. And they're funding you from the back. So you're working for
You guys
them.
agree?
That part I agree. Absolutely. At the second to the lowest, I put mainstream media, because mainstream media is a byproduct of the money guys, meaning mainstream media is nobody without the funders, which is billionaires. Billionaires make mainstream
And the
media talk about
advertisers,
whatever
like
they're
we talked
talking
about.
about. So I put mainstream media at 4th. I put billionaires at 3rd. I put educational system at 2nd because it's got a long lifespan, kind of like what you were talking about. So if one side of the political party gets the educational system, you got them for decades. So if you got for every one conservative professor, 12 are, on the liberal side, you got a monopoly there. That's a full-on monopoly. So that's problematic because you're able to indoctrinate younger generation coming up. That's a lot of power. That's number 2. And I put number 1 at virtual government because I think those guys are becoming just as powerful as the government, if not bigger. They can do a lot of different things. They can have a lot of control over other things, and you have to go through them. They're not going away. So you can do a lot of things you want to do, but you kind of have to go through them, the virtual governments. But you put billionaires at the top. If you enjoyed this short clip, click over here to
All
watch
right, so
another
that's
short.
we can watch more if the views are there.
So definitely agree with Patrick Bet David there at the end.
Well, yeah.
More so than Uygur in his rankings. Though I might put.
Well, yeah, where would you rank those? Order
So,
of importance.
well,
in the
one-
2022 world.
So mainstream media, I think I would put at the bottom. I think I'd put president second from the bottom.
Okay.
At the top, I might put education, because
Wow.
if you get to them young, like he's saying, you indoctrinate, right? If for the first 10 years of a child, so supposedly a child learns from the ages of, I think it's 4 to 12, right? And once they reach 12, they are who they're going to be as an adult. They with slight adjustments, right? Wisdom and such, but they have their foundations. So if you get to them by that age, by 12, and you've indoctrinated them into a belief system, yeah, you have them for life. So I think that's much more key in developing a society is the educational system. I think that's number one.
That's number one.
He has it number two. I have it number one, and his governmental media thing is number two. I would have, or number one. I have that as number two.
Okay.
So we just reversed the top two and bottom two. I don't remember what was third. I'm sure it was the same.
Okay.
Well,
yeah, I would have billionaires at the top.
Oh, billionaires. Yeah.
I would have billionaires at the top because they, if you look at like the Rockefeller found, like the guy made his money in the 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
It's still shaping policy today. Look at healthcare. One of the things people don't know, and you can draw a lot of parallels between Rockefeller and Bill Gates. When he was forced to break up his monopolies, he started all these nonprofits, not because he's like such a good guy, although he actually was like Christian and all that, but he created these institutions, basically think tanks. They changed the way medicine works. They went away from the holistic approach, which was back then in the 1800s, like physicians treated like holistically how to prevent people from getting sick. They switched to germ theory, so they tried to find one cure or one treatment for every disease, as opposed to trying to prevent the diseases. Like that alone has spanned more than a century.
Mm-hmm.
So I put billionaire at the top. I mean, if they can affect an industry, they can affect every industry basically for centuries, if there's enough money there. So I had to put them at the top, and then I'm not sure where I put the rest. I put president last. And then in between, I don't know.
Yeah.
Mainstream media probably second and last. Education third, and then whatever the other one was second. Social media second.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there we go. There we have it. We'll react to more. Chris is not so convinced Cenk is very different than what he was coming into it, but we got so many more clips.
Well,
And we want you on the show, Cenk.
I think Cenk moderates to his audience,
He talks about that in the podcast too.
because when he's on his show, it's like everything is just nonsense. At least in my book.
Cenk, we want you on the show. I can't wait to have you on. Let's get you on. Catch y'all later.
Bye bye.
Like, subscribe, comment, share. Bye-bye.
Yes, please.